All right, so let's be real for a sec. Who out there hasn't felt that, wave of panic before a big presentation? That heart pounding, palms are sweating, kind of makes you rethink all your life choices up to that point.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we've all been there, right? Almost like a rite of passage. You're not really, you haven't really lived until you felt that presentation terror.
right.
But the thing that I find so interesting about all this is there's a scientific reason for this.
There is.
This whole presentation frenzy.
Yeah, it's not just in our heads, it's an actual physiological response. Our bodies are pumping out adrenaline because, way back when facing a crowd was probably as dangerous as running into a saber-toothed tiger.
Oh, wow.
And so of course these days it's more likely to be a PowerPoint presentation than a predator.
Right, right.
But our bodies haven't quite caught up with the times.
So wait, are you saying that our nervous system is basically stuck in the Stone Age? That's kind of hilarious.
Kind of, yeah.
No wonder I feel like running for the hills sometimes.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, just knowing that it's a natural reaction, even a primal one, that's oddly comforting. It's like, okay, so I'm not just a giant ball of nerves. This is just my caveman instincts kicking in. The question is, how do we tame these instincts, and like how do we channel that nervous energy into something, well, less caveman-like?
Yeah, I think that's where preparation comes in. You can think about it like building armor against those nerves.
Okay.
And the more solid your grasp of the material, the less room there is for that fear to kind of like take hold.
Oh, okay. So it's not just about like memorizing every single word of the presentation, but like really understanding it inside and out.
Exactly. You should be able to explain your points in your own words, anticipate those tricky questions, have backup plans for any technical glitches that might arise. Just imagine yourself kind of like sailing through the presentation with ease because you've prepped for any scenario. That mental picture alone can be a really powerful confidence booster.
It's funny you mentioned that. I used to be terrified of public speaking, but I had this one presentation back in college, and I practiced so much. I mean, I was practically dreaming in bullet points. And it actually went surprisingly well. I even managed to like crack a few jokes, and the audience actually laughed. It was kind of a turning point for me.
Yeah, and there's really something to be said for the power of visualization. Not just like picturing the success, but like mentally rehearsing the presentation.
Yeah, but even with meticulous preparation, those pre-show jitters can still sneak up on you. It's
Yeah.
like they have a backstage pass to your nervous system, no matter how much you try to bounce them. So what's the secret weapon for those moments when the nerves are really threatening to take over?
You might be surprised to learn that one of the most effective weapons is as simple as breathing.
Wait, hold on. Are you suggesting deep breathing?
I am.
I mean, I'm all for mindfulness, but is that really gonna like calm me down when I feel like I'm about to face a firing squad of judgmental eyes?
It might sound a little too good to be true,
Yeah.
but trust me on this one. When we're stressed, our breathing, it becomes really shallow and rapid,
Yeah.
which only fuels that anxiety fire.
Right.
But by consciously slowing down and deepening our breaths, we're sending a message to our nervous system, like, hey, everything's cool. We're not actually being chased by a tiger. We're just giving a presentation. It's a simple but incredibly effective way to kind of hit the reset button on your stress response.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Talk to me about this magical breathing technique.
Yeah.
Like, do I need to invest in some incense?
Yeah.
Maybe a yoga mat?
No need for all that. There's a technique called 4-count breathing that can be done, anytime, anywhere. Just inhale deeply for a count of 4, hold your breath for 4, and then exhale slowly for 4. It's like a mini meditation for your lungs.
So if I start like hyperventilating mid-presentation, I can just casually slip in a few rounds of 4-count breathing.
Yeah.
And no one will even notice.
Exactly. It's like a secret weapon for calming those internal storms.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. But what about those times when even deep breathing just it isn't enough? Are there other ways to kind of like ground ourselves when the anxiety is really threatening to send us spiraling?
Absolutely. There are other, they're called grounding techniques, and they can really help pull your attention back to the present moment, away from all those kind of racing thoughts. It's all about shifting your focus to your physical sensations, really kind of like anchoring you to reality.
Okay, you've officially intrigued me. Tell me more about these grounding techniques. Are we talking like levitation or something equally mystical?
Not quite magic, but it can feel pretty powerful. One simple technique is just to, focus on your feet. Feel the weight of your body pressing down on the floor, the texture of the ground beneath your shoes. It might seem silly, but this act of really noticing those physical sensations can help you to ground yourself in the present moment and can really quiet those anxious thoughts.
That's fascinating. It's like a mental trick to outsmart those pesky nerves.
Mm.
So we've got the prep work, we've got the deep breathing, we've got the grounding techniques. It's like we're building a fortress against presentation jitters. What else can we do to kind of fortify our defenses, before the big moment?
Well, there's another powerful weapon that we haven't talked about yet, and that's body language.
Ah, yes. The silent language that speaks volumes. I've always been fascinated by how our bodies can really betray our inner feelings, even when we're trying to project this air of like, calm and confidence.
Exactly. And the exciting part is that, we can actually use body language to our advantage, not just to mask our nerves, but to actually boost our confidence, like from the outside in.
Oh, so it's like we're giving our brains a pep talk just
Ah.
through our posture. Okay, so spill beans.
Mhm.
What are some of these body language secrets that can transform us from like, nervous wrecks into confident speakers?
Well, one of the simplest yet most effective strategies is just to, stand tall with your shoulders back, this kind of like power pose. It not only projects confidence to your audience, but it also sends a signal to your brain that you're in control.
Oh, so it's like faking it till you make it, but with your posture.
Hmm.
I can totally get on board with that. I know for a fact that when I'm nervous, I tend to like shrink into myself,
Yeah,
which probably makes me look even less confident.
probably.
So what else can we do, like with our body language to amp up that confidence?
Well, avoiding crossed arms is another key tip, because it can make you appear, closed off, or even defensive, even if you're just feeling a bit chilly.
Oh man, I am so guilty of the arm cross. It's like my default nervous habit.
Way.
But I can definitely see how that would send the wrong signal.
Yeah, it does. Instead, try keeping your arms relaxed at your sides, or you can even use them for natural gestures to
Mhm.
kind of emphasize your points. It's all about creating an open and an approachable kind of presence.
Got it. Okay, stand tall, uncross the arms.
Yeah.
Now, what about eye contact? I mean, eye contact can feel so intense, especially when you're already feeling the pressure of, all those eyes on you.
I hear you. Eye contact can definitely feel a bit intimidating, but
Oh.
but it is a really powerful way to connect with your audience
Yeah.
and to convey confidence.
Okay, so what if staring someone like straight in the eye just feels like too much? Like any tips for those of us who are, a little eye contact challenged?
Absolutely. A great starting point is to kind of focus on people's foreheads or even the space just above their eyes. It gives the illusion of eye contact without the intensity of, like a laser-like stare.
Mm.
And as you become more comfortable, you can gradually shift your gaze to make more direct eye contact.
That's a brilliant trick. I'm definitely going to try that. Okay, so we've covered posture, arms, eye contact. Um, what about our voices? Do those play a role in projecting confidence?
Absolutely. The way you speak can have a huge impact on how you're perceived. When we're nervous, our voices tend to get higher and we tend to speak way too fast, almost as if we're trying to get the whole thing over with as quickly as possible.
Oh my gosh, that's me in a nutshell. It's like my voice goes on a caffeine-fueled sprint when I'm anxious.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, but speaking too quickly, it can make you sound less confident and also harder to understand. It's like you're rushing your audience through the material instead of letting them absorb it.
So how do we avoid that rapid fire speech pattern? Do we need to like channel our inner James Earl Jones and speak in these like slow, dramatic tones?
Not necessarily. It's not about changing your voice entirely, but rather just, focusing on the power of pausing. Deliberate pauses, throughout your presentation can do wonders for both your confidence and your audience's comprehension.
Pausing. Really, I've always thought of silence as like the enemy of a good presentation. It feels like dead air that needs to be filled with words, and lots of them.
I know it can feel very counterintuitive, but trust me, pauses are your secret weapon. They give your audience time to process information. They allow you to breathe, to gather your thoughts, and they really create this sense of anticipation. It's like the difference between a breathless sprint and a strategic, well-paced marathon.
I saw a speaker once who used pauses so effectively. It felt like every word they said was so carefully considered and impactful. It was almost hypnotic.
Exactly. Pauses, they create this sense of rhythm and gravitas in your delivery. They signal confidence and control.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light. Pauses, not the enemy.
Yeah.
A strategic ally. But even with all this prep, all these techniques, what about those moments when we do make a mistake? I mean, we're human after all.
You're absolutely right. Everyone makes mistakes, especially when we're under pressure. The key is to not let them derail you.
Oh man, I have had my fair share of presentation mishaps. One time I completely blanked on a key point.
Yeah.
And I just stood there stammering like a malfunctioning robot. It was mortifying.
I bet it felt that way at the time, but I guarantee you the audience was far less critical than you were on yourself.
Really, I felt like the spotlight was shining directly on my awkwardness.
Here's the thing. Audiences are generally very forgiving. They want you to succeed. They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for authenticity and connection.
That's actually really reassuring. So how do we handle those inevitable slip-ups with grace and dare I say even humor?
The key is to just acknowledge the mistake briefly, maybe even with a touch of self-deprecating humor, and then just move on.
It's like we're turning those stumbles into moments of connection with the audience, showing them that we're all human.
Exactly. It's about embracing imperfection and not letting those minor bumps in the road derail our entire presentation.
It's interesting. We've been talking about all these techniques to project confidence, but what about that deep down, genuine confidence that comes from within, the kind that doesn't rely on posture or breathing techniques?
That's a great point. True confidence isn't about putting on the show. It's about believing in yourself and your abilities, even when those pesky inner doubts start, creeping in.
So how do we cultivate that unshakable inner confidence? It feels like something that some people are just born with, while others, like me, have to work a little harder for it.
Well, while some people might be, naturally predisposed to feeling more confident, confidence is ultimately a skill that can be developed, just like any other. And one of the best ways to develop it is through experience.
So the more we put ourselves out there, the more confident we become. It's like building a confidence muscle by repeatedly lifting those scary presentation weights.
Exactly. Every time we step outside our comfort zone and face a challenge, whether it's, giving a presentation, speaking up in a meeting, or even just starting a conversation with a stranger, we're giving that confidence muscle a workout.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what about those times when we feel like we've failed, when a presentation doesn't go as planned, or we get like negative feedback? How do we bounce back from those setbacks without letting them, crush our confidence?
Well, failure is an inevitable part of growth. It's how we learn and get better. The key is to reframe how we view those experiences. Instead of seeing them as a reflection of our worth or our ability, let's see them as valuable feedback. That can help us improve.
So it's less about, I'm a failure,
Yeah.
and more about, okay, this didn't go perfectly, but what can I learn from it?
It's like turning those setbacks into stepping stones.
Precisely. It's about embracing a growth mindset. Where we view challenges as opportunities for learning and development, and that shift in perspective can make all the difference in how we process those less than stellar experiences. That's That's a brilliant way to look at it. It takes the sting out of failure,
Yeah.
and it kind of turns it into something positive. But what about those pesky inner critics that we all have?
Yeah.
You know, that voice in our heads that whispers, "You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not experienced enough."
Yeah.
How do we silence that negativity
Yeah.
and start believing in ourselves?
Yeah, that inner critic, that can be tough to deal with, but it's important to remember that it's not our true voice. It's often just a collection of negative beliefs and limiting messages we've picked up along the way.
So it's not who we are. It's just a bunch of noise that we've internalized. It's like having a negative Nancy, like permanently camped out in our subconscious.
Exactly. And the best way to deal with that negativity is to start challenging those thoughts and replacing them with more positive and empowering beliefs. It's about taking back control of the narrative in our heads.
Oh, I love that. But that sounds easier said than done. How do we actually go about challenging those deeply ingrained negative beliefs?
Well, one effective technique is to just ask yourself, is this thought really true?
Yeah.
What evidence do I have to support it? Often when we examine those negative thoughts more closely, we realize they're based on, fear and insecurity, not facts. It's like taking those negative thoughts to court and demanding evidence.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's like putting those negative thoughts on trial and see if they actually hold up under scrutiny. What other weapons do we have in our arsenal for
Hmm.
for battling that inner critic?
Well, another really powerful tool is self-compassion. We tend to be much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend or a loved one.
Oh, that's so true. I am my own worst critic, hands down.
Right. And so let's try to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer to someone we care about. It's about being our own best cheerleaders, not our own worst enemies. And when we start treating ourselves with more compassion, our confidence naturally begins to grow.
Hmm. It's like we're giving ourselves permission to be human,
Mm.
to make mistakes, to learn, to grow, and in that space of self-acceptance, our confidence can truly flourish.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress, and that's perfectly okay.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from practical techniques to mindset shifts to the importance of self-compassion. It's been a fantastic journey of self-discovery.
It has. It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.